This is Midnight Alchemy with your host Jason Allen on the Left Coast Media Network. And now here's Jason.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever and whenever you are. This is Midnight Alchemy, and I am Jason Allen. Hello there. All right, we got something a little different on this episode. We're not going to be, talking and interviewing, the former stuff that we've been doing. Oh, no. This week, we're going to go the best paranormal movies ever. And to help me do this, I can only bring in one person, right? The person who has got this down pat. He is a knowledgeable dude about everything. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Doc Normal.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Am I loud enough?
Oh yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Over the past week or so, I've been making the list and going over it. Some are gonna be, really standards, and some are gonna be, I don't know if I've seen that one yet. I don't know if I've ever heard of it. I think I've got a tasty wine list here, and I think it's gonna be good. And it's not gonna be like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is I'm just throwing them all out for your entertainment. So Doc, how hard was it for you to come up with a list?
It was hard, but just to think about all of the different aspects of paranormal film and literature. So probably this afternoon I overthought it and started working on my master's thesis. I mean, it's just like, oh man, because where do you start? I mean, you start with the Godfather.
Godfather's paranormal?
No, not the Godfather, the Godfather of storytelling. The Bard.
Okay.
William Shakespeare.
Right.
Ghosts appear all over his plays.
Sure, you got Hamlet.
And one of the great ghost bits is in Macbeth, right? The Scottish play.
Scottish.
So, I mean, it really goes back. It's interesting to look at the history of like paranormal stories, a lot of like ghost stories and things. They go all the way back to Shakespeare. You have Dickens, Mary Shelley, Bram Stoker,
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot there. But I tried to pick out some that people maybe don't know or have forgotten about. I mean, there's tons of stuff in the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. Tons and tons of movies out there. But
Since whenever paranormal became vogue, right?
Right.
On a upcoming show, I'm gonna try to get Dr. Rebecca Housel on.
Yeah, she should be doing this.
Yeah, she
she's perfect for this. She's the pop culture professor.
Right. So I'm gonna go at it from that angle, like paranormal through pop culture, through the more of a history bent.
Right.
But okay, let's get into this. So I didn't put anything in order because a lot of it was just vomited out of my noggin. So it's I'm
sure your family appreciated that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, they always
clean up the cat and what came out of Jason's noggin.
Right. It happens. That's paranormal all in itself.
That's true. There's a movie right there. It's
That's
just
right.
like that. I don't know. He just showed up and he started vomiting out of his noggin, and the government gets involved, and who knows what happens after that.
What's the title of it? The Noggin Vomiter?
Sure. Yes. Done.
Or how about this? It's spewed at midnight.
Yeah.
There you go. But okay, number one I just threw out there, okay, is of course the biggie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, good job. I had that first on my list, but I didn't put it on my list because I thought it was too obvious.
Right. Oh,
But
I'm going for the obvious, man.
no, but it is definitely here's the problem with when you say paranormal.
Mhm.
It's science fiction, it's horror, it's ghosts, it's a lot of different things.
Right.
And of course, Close Encounters, I consider that really it's a science fiction film, but
Right.
it's fantastic in that there's all these paranormal things that happen due to the spoiler alert aliens,
Right.
UFOs.
Right.
And it's really well done too. I mean,
Yeah.
I love it when I love the scene when Barry gets abducted
Oh
in
yeah.
the house, when the like everything starts shaking and his toys go off, and he
Right.
runs in the room, and the oven opens up and it's like on full blast.
Right.
And I mean, those special effects
Yep.
are amazing. And I believe that's Douglas Trumbull, by the way, who I will mention
Uh,
later.
Excellent. Yeah, my
Yeah.
favorite scene in that is when Richard Dreyfuss is at the dinner table and he's got this huge pile of mashed potatoes and he's
Yeah.
doing the Devil's Tower with it. He's like, this is important. Anyway.
Yeah. 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 I saw that movie when I was a kid,
Yeah.
in the theater. I'm that old. And I loved it. And over the years, as I've rewatched it, I've never, it's always held up, and I've always really enjoyed it. And it's it's almost less about the aliens than it's the characters, what they're going through, what they're experiencing, kind of a psychological study
Right.
of what are you going through if you're having these extraordinary things happen in your life,
Right.
which could be aliens, ghosts, satanic spirits, you
Right.
know. There's so much psychology behind these stories, and I found that was kind of a theme,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
psychology.
Yeah, and you can't beat Spielberg.
No, I think it's one of his best. Great cast. He the if people don't know, he cast his idol, Francois Truffaut, the director.
Oh yeah.
The French director is
Yeah.
Lacombe, the French UFOologist scientist at the end.
Yeah.
And that was, of course, Spielberg. That was one of his great idols as a filmmaker. And I think Truffaut, he died pretty early, so I think it was not many years later that he passed away. But so just a little thing there, that the French scientist is Francois Truffaut, the French
Right.
director.
Hey, you read my mind when we were talking. I was like, I was going to ask you, hey, who's the French dude?
Yeah.
I would have put it, I mean, you did it very eloquently, and yeah, I would have. Who's the French dude?
Well, like I said, I've been working on my thesis, so
So you're
I'm
well
all
versed.
yeah. It was like, it's a podcast, man. Chill out. It's like, oh, no. I have a book report due.
That's
I'm
right.
stressed, man.
Hey, there will be no plagiarism here.
Yeah. Professor Jason's gonna mark me down.
Yeah, the guy that comes out with the French dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're gonna get the feeling as we go along that I'm gonna be the low-hanging fruit guy.
Special mention too, the guy who plays the translator is one of my favorite character actors, and he's also a writer and a director himself. Bob Balaban.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
love Bob
and,
Balaban.
and he's
Yeah.
and he's in all kinds of different things. I think he just shows up and you're always like, oh wow, all right, Bob Balaban's in this.
Right.
And he's done a lot of television and whatnot, but he was in the sequel to 2001. He was the guy in the movie 2010, which was a sequel to 2001, made in the 80s. He was the guy who invented HAL. He's
Oh,
the computer scientist
yeah.
who has to go to the Discovery circling Jupiter and reactivate HAL. And he always plays these nerdy guys like translator and professor and stuff, and he's really good at that.
Oh yeah.
So,
My favorite movies with him in it is the Christopher Guest movies. Like,
oh yeah, yeah,
waiting
yeah.
for Guffman,
Oh yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
all that stuff. A Mighty Wind.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But
Oh,
love
love
that.
those movies.
Yeah, love it. All right, dude. You got to throw out one yourself.
Okay, let me see here. So you did Close Encounters.
Mhm.
I'll tell you what. I'm not going to take this in order. I do have it in chronological order, but I'll play. I will play off. I will. I will look at your move and then play my move.
Ah, okay.
So I'm going to take. When I thought of Close Encounters, I thought of a different movie,
Okay.
and that is, and this goes along with, I think, one of the finest paranormal actors, a
Mm.
little known guy that you may never have heard of before, but I think he's an upcomer and I think he's going to be a big star. One Christopher Walken.
Oh, I loves me some walking.
And I have one, two, I have three, four with an honorable, actually four Christopher Walken films on my list. One of
Nice.
them, if you liked Close Encounters of the Third Kind, you may very well like Communion.
Oh, yeah, Whitley Strieber. Yeah, Communion. Oh,
1987,
yeah.
written by his true accounts
Hmm.
by Whitley Strieber
Right.
or Stryber. I'm not sure how you say
No,
his name.
Strieber.
Um, he wrote a book about his encounters with aliens, and it's kind of the whole getting abducted, getting probed, and whatnot. And
Yeah.
in 1989, director Philip Mora turned this into a film starring Christopher Walken, Lindsay Krause, who was in the original David Mamet film House of Games, Francis Sternhagen, great actor, and Andreas Katsoulas.
Ah,
Andreas Katsoulas is known to sci-fi people because he was played Jakar, the Narn ambassador in Babylon 5. Fantastic actor. He was
yeah.
also the one-armed man in the remake of The Fugitive with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, yeah.
But fantastic actor. I just rewatched it. It's up on Tubi, and I totally forgot who was in it. And it was like, oh, Lindsay Krause. Oh, Andreas Katsoulas. They play friends. And this movie, it was hard. I was watching it, but you have to really sit down and watch it
Mm.
because the way they film the paranormal, the encounters and stuff, like you really have to watch.
Yeah.
It's really well done. Like the very first time you see he kind of wakes up and weird stuff is happening, and you see he kind of looks at the dresser drawer and you see an eye peeking out and then it flashes away and you're like, oh crap. Movie will creep you out. I mean,
Yeah.
um, yeah, and it's a really Walken is fantastic in it. I mean, he's Christopher Walken, you know
Right.
his style of acting. But yeah, I think it's a great companion to Close Encounters because
Yeah.
it is a study of the psychological effects of someone who has been or believes they have been abducted by aliens.
Right. And Whitley Strieber, I mean, he was on Art Bell for years. He
Yeah,
was
yeah,
one of his favorite guests.
yeah, very well known.
So
I
yeah,
I I knew nothing about Whitley Strieber until I saw this movie. Like I was like, what is this? Well, this is based on a book, and I was like, wow. And the cool thing about it is, you could come into it as a skeptic and say, I'm not so sure I think that people are abducted by aliens. Okay. That doesn't matter in this film, in this story. This is this person's story of what they experienced and the psychological effects. And when you analyze it that way, it's you really have some empathy too
yeah, oh
for
yeah,
what he went through.
yeah.
There's a lot, like you come away going, wow, I feel bad for him, you know?
Sure. Well, I think it helps though that it was a bestseller and he probably made a ton of money out of it. I mean, if you're gonna get
Yeah.
probed, man, you better get
Yeah.
paid for it.
Well, I got to tell you, I don't think they've ever tried to remake this story,
No,
and it's Christopher Walken. I mean, he does things that no other actor does,
right.
in his films, and I thought it was well cast.
Oh yeah, yeah. It loves me some Walken, man.
Oh,
Uh,
you will love even more.
oh yeah. In fact, I'm going to spit out a Christopher Walken movie now too. That's on my list. Uh,
Hmm.
The Prophecy.
That was the next one on my list.
There you go. Yeah, I love The Prophecy. For
Yep,
me, Viggo Mortensen
Viggo Mortensen
is the best Satan, man. I mean, that
and
guy.
Eric Stoltz is great in it
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah, 1995. Yeah, that obviously that popped on my list as well. And yeah, that is. I kind of went into that movie going kind of goofy, but you just buy into it as it's going
right,
on, and you're like, wow, okay.
right.
Um, yeah, and if you like Viggo Mortensen, who doesn't,
Yeah.
he's fantastic in it.
Oh yeah. When they're in the scene where they're in the church, and of course Satan appears in the pew
Mhm.
behind them, and he's his little Tommy Daggett, always
Mhm.
thought, always looked into ghosts underneath his bed at night, and he never knew that there were really there. It's like, oh. But Vigo, man, he is the best Satan. I wish that there was some movie in the future or something that he could reprise a role of that, because that man was meant to be the devil. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Christopher Walken, Elias
oh yeah,
Koteas, I don't remember him.
right.
Virginia Madsen,
Oh
love
yeah,
her. Eric Stoltz,
yep,
Amanda Plummer is
yes,
in it,
yes,
and Viggo Mortensen. Yeah,
yeah. And this
yeah.
was
It's
this was Vigo, obviously before Lord of the Rings. He
yep.
wasn't that much of a household name.
No, no, no. Great actor, and it's been a while since I've seen this movie. And I didn't have time to like go screen all these films, so it's been a while. But I do remember. I remember the visuals are really great
Right,
in the prophecy.
right.
And again, just part again, the stream of really great Christopher Walken movies. How about if you did that chess move? How about if I reply with another one along those same lines, which popped up right after I put the prophecy on list? If you like the prophecy, you might like Fallen,
Yes. Yep. Denzel
starring
Washington.
Denzel Washington,
Yeah.
John Goodman, Donald Sutherland, Embeth Davidtz, James Gandolfini is in it, and he's really good. This is
Sopranos. Yeah.
Sopranos. And again, Elias Koteas, which I can't remember, he's also in it. It's a Nicholas Kasdan script. This was 1998.
Yeah.
Again, Denzel Washington. Denzel didn't do too many like horror type things. He was more like thriller, action. Love Denzel. I'm a huge Denzel Washington fan.
Oh, yeah.
But Fallen, if you like the prophecy, Fallen. Denzel Washington plays a cop. Is he? I can't remember where. Is it New Orleans or is it somewhere
Oh,
else?
geez. I don't know. I can't
Yeah.
remember.
And yeah, similar things ensue.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
Um,
What a
there's a
stellar cast.
there's a murderer, and turns out the murderer has a secret name, and satanic things ensue.
Mhm.
And the great thing about this movie is you will come away with the earworm of time is on my side. Yes, to the Rolling Stones, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Uh, yeah,
I'm surprised they didn't put Sympathy for the Devil on it.
might be in the soundtrack. I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be a little bit harder to sing though. But like every time it's like they start humming, and it's like, okay, why is that guy humming that? Oh,
Right. Yeah.
there's I don't want to spoil it, but there's a part where yeah, I'm not I can't really spoil it, but there's a part where James Gandolfini starts humming it, and you go,
Oh,
oh shit.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no, no.
We
You're
can
good.
swear on this one.
You're good.
But
We're
yeah,
we're
I think
adult.
I think if people like The Prophecy, they'll like Fallen. And again, another stellar cast,
Yeah.
highly entertaining movie.
Right.
It kind of starts out as a cop movie, and then
It
things
veers
happen.
hard left.
Yeah, yeah. Which I like. So one thing I like about film is when they break genres.
Yeah.
So if you give me I like it when a film is like has paranormal aspects, but you kind of sleight of hand of it. It starts out, oh, this is a cop movie. Okay, yeah, chasing a murder and whatnot. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's something much more
Lay,
happening underneath
layers
this.
upon layers. And
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna say something that hardly anybody knows, okay? But the French Connection, Gene Hackman, possessed. No, I'm just kidding.
Beelzebub.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see the prophecy. Then okay, I'm gonna kind of go along the same theme.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw out there The Exorcist.
Well, yeah, you just mentioned the French Connection, so I thought I was like, yeah, it's gonna go there.
Right. You love me The Exorcist. I mean, of course it's a classic, but it was one of those movies still that holds up well. She still spews, pea green soup, and but it's just, instead of the old hack and slash or whatever it is, I mean, it's just creepy. The whole thing's got the lighting, just the obviously the script, but it's just creepy. And that always, I remember watching that as a kind of a little niblet there, and that that frightened me for days, man. That spooked me out.
Yeah. Me too. I was way too young to go to the theater and experience it. And the hype around The Exorcist. First, before we say anything,
Yeah.
we have to say the director William Friedkin passed away last week.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So R.I.P. He was a fantastic director. You mentioned The French Connection
Yeah.
was considered one of his great movies, and then he follows it up like a good director does with how about The Exorcist? I mean, it's how about another classic and another classic. Um, so I knew about the movie. It was a phenomenon.
Oh yeah.
Theaters would put barf bags in the theater for people who
Yeah.
would get sick during the movie. This is the craziness of the hype around back old Hollywood. The movie came out in 1973.
Yeah.
And older kid like babysitters and stuff would be like, oh yeah, we went to go see The Exorcist. It's the scariest movie of all time. If you can sit through it, you're gonna, what I mean? It was really had that hype of being so horrific.
Yeah.
I think that, well, I have another one on probably Psycho maybe before that, but this movie, The Exorcist, was just something else. And for me, the first time I ever encountered it, I was a little kid, and they played it on TV for the late night movie, like ABC or whatever, sometime in the whenever it was. And highly edited, of course. In fact, they re-edited the dialogue because a lot of the dialogue is so profane when she's possessed.
Oh yeah.
And somehow, I don't know how it was, what it was. I knew it was on, so I snuck over and turned the TV on for a quick bit because I'm curious. I want to see this Exorcist. I turned it on, and it was in the middle of one of the moments, and I heard the sounds of the possession, and it freaked me out. And I turned the TV off and I ran to my bedroom. I was like, "Oh my god!" you know,
Right.
and I couldn't just get that little snippet of sound out of my head.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had nightmares. And so one thing about this movie is I think the sound design,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
like, I've had since Friedkin passed away last week, people have talked about The Exorcist and revisiting it. It's like a classic film. And some people are like, yeah, the pea soup and all that stuff. Maybe
Right.
those effects haven't aged quite as well as today.
Sure.
But I think if you just close your eyes and listen to the sound.
Oh yeah. Yes.
a-
And their theme song too,
Yeah, Tubular Bells by
Yeah.
Mike Oldfield. Yeah,
That's
I think so.
creepy on its own, man.
Yeah, the sound design, the soundtrack. And that's another thing about these movies. If you're a budding filmmaker, you don't have to necessarily show everything. You can have that light and the open door to the room down the hallway,
Yeah.
and just create a great soundtrack and special effects and demonic sounds and stuff, and have your character standing there going, do I go in or do I run down the stairs and get the hell out?
Right.
You will scare the crap out of people because it's that anticipation of what's behind the door.
Yeah.
What am I encountering?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I like, yeah, maybe I'll go to the seminary, be a priest. I ain't gonna walk up the stairs to some little girl's bedroom that's like all that demonic noise is happening. It's like,
Oh yeah.
you go. I'll be here. I don't know,
Yeah. I mean, if you're in a
polishing the rosary or something.
right, right. If you're like hanging out, and they come up to you, the archbishop or cardinal comes up to you
Yeah.
and says, "Hey, Father Jenkins, we want you to go, we want you to go handle this, alleged exorcism." Yeah, if you're Father Jenkins, you're right. You're just like, I can't go. I'm polishing the rosary beads, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the movie. Have you ever read this book? I haven't read the book, but it's supposed to be pretty good. Have you read the William Peter Blatty novel of The Exorcist?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Long time ago, though.
My understanding is there's a lot more, because here's the other thing about it. It's a paranormal film, satanic, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's really about someone losing their faith, the priest losing his faith.
Right.
It's a fascinating story, like,
Right.
About his mother, and there's a director's cut.
There is
One of the cuts that actually puts some scenes back where you get that story, that for some reason was cut out, like where he talks. Max von Sydow is the the older priest, and he says, why would God let this happen to this innocent little girl?
Yeah.
And yeah, I find that those themes pretty fascinating.
Sure. Most definitely.
There's I had a tangent for The Exorcist about sound design.
Yeah.
I'll make it quick.
No, go ahead. We got time.
I should mention before I forget, they are remaking The Exorcist right now.
Really?
Yeah, I can't remember. I didn't look it up, but they are remaking it, and I can't remember who.
That is some huge shoes to fill, man.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know, but just heads up, everybody. But what I was going to say about sound design and The Exorcist and exorcisms in general, if you like The Exorcist, and if you like sound design, and if you like hearing the sound of exorcisms, let me recommend an album to you. My Life in the Bush of Ghosts by Brian Eno and David Byrne.
Oh, that's an interesting album.
1981, released in 1981.
Yeah.
There's a track on there called the Jezebel Spirit, and like Brian Eno does, a lot of the tracks have like found sound effects things, and then they play the music to it. It's a great album, by the way. It's I think it's really gotten to be cult status album. And I think after this album, I think then Brian Eno was producing Talking Heads albums, and I think a couple songs that they didn't put in this album ended up on Talking Heads. But there's a track on here called the Jezebel Spirit, and it uses as its foundation a recording of a priest actually doing an exorcism.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh.
And again, when I heard that on the radio, it must have been like KBOO or something in the car, and I had to pull over. I was like, what the heck is this? It creeped me out.
Oh, yeah.
But I was a little older. I was like a teenager. And I was like, I got to find out what this is. And I was waiting, wrote it down. I was like, oh, my life in the I got to go check this out. And I ran to the record store and bought this album. And it is a very good album. But the Jezebel Spirit is really cool. You hear this guy, I don't know if he's Irish or something, and he's casting out a demon from some lady.
Man, that's crazy. That okay, folks, whoever listens to this, that is your homework. You got to go out and listen to the Jezebel Spirit. That's your homework. There will be a pop quiz next week.
I mean, I think you should probably know who Brian Eno and David Byrne is, and kind of dig their kind of vibe and what they do. It's not like Quiet Riot or something.
In fact, also a little known fact here. I'm bringing out a lot of little known facts tonight. So, David Byrne and Brian Eno, their love child, Tim Burton.
Oh yeah,
just throwing that out there.
No, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Fact. We only talk facts here, man.
Right.
And you can actually see that.
Sure. The truth lives here.
Yeah. So The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got two tangents here. One is obvious, one is less obvious, and I'll take the less obvious one first.
Yep.
It's like a chess game.
Oh,
it's like it's Spock and Kirk on the Enterprise doing 3-4-dimensional chess, right?
Right.
So in The Exorcist, the older priest is played by the great Max von Sydow, who recently passed away a while ago, sadly. One of my favorites. Well, Mr. von Sydow was in probably one of the greatest classic paranormal films of all time. And that would be 1957's The Seventh Seal.
Oh, yes.
Directed by Ingmar Bergman.
Yeah.
And Max von Sydow plays the knight coming back from the Crusades, where he encounters, this is where we get the trope, the meme, he encounters death, who he challenges to a chess game. And the movie's kind of, I think he's kind of reviewing his deeds and, the Crusades and death. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it is a classic and considered one of classic films of all time.
Yeah.
But it's based on the Book of Revelation, the Crusades. You're directly dealing with death, who's the kind of a Faustian thing going on there.
That's some heavy stuff, man.
Well, man, it's heavy things. So should I throw in the prequel Exorcist? Because it was only a few years before The Exorcist in 1973 that in 1968 we got the film Rosemary's Baby.
Yes, that's on my list too. Yeah,
that would be, I think, a good dovetail. Roman Polanski, starring Mia Farrow, and I always forget John Cassavetes.
Really?
Yeah, he's the dude, and Ruth Gordon.
Oh yeah.
And Ralph Bellamy. So Rosemary's Baby again, Um, I don't know. What can you say about it? It's like,
Right.
gonna have a baby. Maybe we don't exactly know who the father is. Maybe we don't
Right.
want to know.
Right. Can you imagine if it was nowadays, right? And you're getting an ultrasound and you see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
I think that might,
Well, Rosemary's Baby touches on again, this touch on psychological, I don't know
yeah,
what you call them, constructs or whatever. Pregnancy. That is a huge,
yeah,
when a woman is pregnant, even her partner, there's a lot of anxiety
sure,
that comes with pregnancy. I
sure.
mean, it is a huge anxiety inducing thing, especially if it's your first.
Right. Oh
You
yeah.
know, is it safe? Is everything going to turn out okay? Is everybody going to be okay? Is the mother going to be okay? So Rosemary's Baby really plays
Hmm.
on the anxiety of pregnancy.
Right. Well, if you try to recreate it, right, and you got the ultrasound, you can't do anything about it because Roe versus Wade has been overturned. You
That's
got some
true.
guys, you must have this baby. You're like, no, it's Rosemary's Baby. I don't want this.
You'd have to
Yeah,
set it in Texas or something. I don't know.
right, right.
That's a good point.
Mississippi.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't. Yeah. Every sperm is sacred.
Oh, that's definitely on the soundtrack.
That's actually paranormal. That I sang a line from the Monty Python
Hmm.
movie, The Life of Brian. There's paranormal moments in that.
Sure.
The death does appear in
Mhm.
that movie. So
Monty Python makes the list.
that is one of my favorite tunes. I know they've got so many great tunes,
Mhm.
in their repertoire, but every sperm is sacred. It's one of my favorites. I love that number. I love that the concept.
Right. And very timely.
Yeah.
There you go. So Rosemary's Baby. Okay, I'm gonna counter that. I'm gonna go hardcore into the classics, okay?
Good. Yeah. Let's go.
Okay. Uh I'm gonna throw it out there. The original, not the remake, but the original War of the Worlds.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You got,
So yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
that's pre Alien, pre ET, pre everything. You got, H.G. Wells, man.
yeah. I mean, again, that's where I'm like, oh, it's a sci-fi movie.
But
Definitely hard science fiction. But I mean, UFOs and aliens fit in this broad category.
yep.
I recently rewatched that on streaming like 6, 8 months some last, and boy, the original really holds up.
Oh yeah.
Gene Barry stars in that. And he's really good as he's kind of the scientist, and I'm from science, I'm here to help. um
Right. I've got the
yeah,
white jacket. I'm
yeah,
here to help.
yeah, that really holds up.
Hmm.
It's funny because I went back and it was on streaming, and I had never seen the remake with with Tom with
Right.
Tom Cruise,
Uh-huh.
which I think is that a Spielberg movie.
Yeah, it is.
I think
It
it
is.
is. I think
Yeah.
it is the Tom Cruise remake from earlier in the 2000s. So
That's
I watched the original and then I went and watched the remake, which I didn't hate the remake.
no, it wasn't bad.
It was pretty good.
I'm not I'm not a,
Um
I'm not a huge Tom Cruise guy except for like
oh,
his early movies,
oh,
Outsiders,
come on,
Risky
man.
Business.
He's a
Ever since
national treasure.
I know, ever since he jumped on Oprah's couch, I've been off the
No.
bandwagon.
Look, he may have, be weird, but he's a great actor and makes great
No,
movies that you
right,
will buy tickets and popcorn to go see.
right. He is a great actor. Uh,
Maverick.
there was one guy that at very first I didn't like him, but he kind of grew on me, and that is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh yeah, yeah, I like
You
him
know,
too. No, every time, I want to criticize Tom Cruise, then I'll see one of his movies and I'll go, this guy's really good. I mean, how many leading men in the style of old Hollywood
yeah,
do we have? And
yeah,
Tom Cruise is one of them.
right,
Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise,
yeah.
maybe a few of the Marvel guy, the Hemsworths or whatever, uh,
Oh,
the Chris's, but I
Eyes
mean,
Wide
yeah.
Shut.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love that movie.
yep.
I love that movie. Yeah. So I watched the Tom Cruise remake, and one thing I appreciated about it is, I think they tried. Of course, it's a modernized set in present day, but I think the 19 is it 52? I can't remember what year the original. It's in the 50s. But I think they tried to do some things in the novels that they had changed in the original adaptation, like the tripods. If you read the
Oh,
story, it's a quick read. The aliens are tripods, and in the Tom Cruise movie, they're tripods.
mhm.
That's like a big thing in the H.G. Wells story, and
Right.
some other things. So, but
You know,
yeah,
what I liked about the original is they didn't go all in on the alien, right? You didn't see him
right,
except at
right,
the end, the hand falling out,
yeah,
and
yeah,
even just the hand. You're like, holy cow, these guys must be
yeah.
ugly suckers, you know. And to me, that was creepy all on its own, just because it let you, the imagination of the mind,
Yeah, yeah, and again, a lot of that movie focuses on what's going on in the town. I mean, it's just like it just happened to crash here in this small little town. I mean, there's like do they have like a square dance or something where they go, as the stuff is going on? It's like,
Hoot
well,
Hootenanny.
you're a single man, aren't you? You're coming to our dance tonight, the town dance, right? And you're like, well, that's going to be the last town dance for quite some time, right? This will not end well.
Right.
That small town Americana kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, Bill at the gas station drove by and says there's some weird lights out there. Oh,
Right.
well, we'll have to go check it out in the morning after we have roast beef and a dance.
We'll get the coon hounds and go out and get it tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, which makes that movie very entertaining as that unfolds.
Yeah.
There's always the small town, everybody's fine, and then things, and
Sure.
then oh crap. And of course we all remember what also holds up, and I think you said you listen to this every year, don't you? The
Oh,
Orson Welles
yep.
War of the Worlds, the
Yeah.
broadcast that
Freaked everybody
freaked
out.
out the East Coast when he broadcast it live. And that it is a wonder. I mean, it's Orson Welles when he was doing radio and plays before he was doing films,
Before
and
he's doing Mr. Coffee commercials.
yeah, no, that I got a tape of that way like back when I was a kid, and I would listen to it and it's like, oh, this is really good. And the whole thing is the way they do it. It's like the reason people freaked out is because they thought they were listening to a radio show, and it's like, and now here's how so and so and up on the orchestra and the dance. Oh, we break in. We've got some lights in New Jersey, and it was like,
Yeah.
you're like, what?
Yeah, but I mean, of all the places to land in the world, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was like, and they had to come on the air. He had to go, you're listening to a radio play.
Right.
There's
I
not really things happening.
Yeah, I remember watching a video of him coming out the next day. He's on film and everything, and it's
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
little press conference, and he's like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry," I just like that.
Yeah. He looks really freaked out.
Right, right.
Yeah. I've seen that clip, and he's like, he looks, there was a movie about that was pretty good, and I can't remember where it is. It was about the whole making the radio show and everything and what happened, and it was very good. I don't know if it was a theatrical film or maybe it was like a made-for-TV movie, but it was really well done. Really well done. Yeah.
Yeah, loves me some more of the Worlds, man.
So you want to go back?
Yeah.
Well, you got to go back. Yeah, as I said, like with Shakespeare, you got to remember that some of the earliest writings that inspired film.
Yeah.
And I would say if we want to go way back as far as writings go, you can't look, she's the mother of science fiction herself.
Oh yeah.
Mary Shelley.
Right.
Who is credited really with inventing science fiction.
Yeah.
For her little known story called Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus, which is the original title of the book.
Right.
First published in 1818 with multiple publications after that. And of course, I don't know if they adopted it. I didn't see that they adopted it in silent film, but the first notable was Frankenstein, 1931, directed by James Whale, starring a little known guy named Boris Karloff.
Right.
And the great Colin Clive, who will always know Colin Clive as "It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!"
Right.
And this movie created its own industry.
Okay.
I mean, there is a Frankenstein industry. If you look up how many Frankenstein movies there are, the list is huge.
Franchise. Abbott and Costello.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew, which is
movie.
actually one of the more popular Frankenstein. And of course, its own sequels, which was Son of Frankenstein, which I think that's when Basil Rathbone played, who's very good, who had previously played Sherlock Holmes, and then of course Bride of Frankenstein.
Oh yeah.
You can pick any. There's so much Frankenstein, and then the English Hammer horror Frankenstein, fantastic.
Yeah.
But the original, especially if you see the original kind of what you would call, quote, the director's cut with restored scenes, because they had to cut the movie down because, again, censorship. It was like, we're not going to have this guy throw the little girl down the well, all of that, when they recut it. It's an amazing film and an amazing story. And so it's science fiction. It's about someone messing with science, but he's also messing with the forces of nature.
Right.
And, as we know, when you mess with the forces of nature, bad things will happen.
Hey, when you mess with the bull, you get the horns.
So there's many wonderful Frankenstein stories.
Oh, yeah.
I will throw one out that I saw as a kid that I really loved. I guess it was a British produced television movie, which ended up being kind of like a series, like 2 nights on NBC in 1973. Check out Frankenstein: The True Story. Stars James Mason.
Yeah.
Oh, it gets better. Jane Seymour.
Oh, wow.
Michael Sarrazin, who, if you saw his face, you might reckon he did a lot of TV and stuff back in the day. He plays the monster, quote. Agnes Moorehead is in it. I didn't even realize. I haven't seen this in years. Ralph Richardson, John Gielgud, and even Tom Baker. Doctor Who himself is in. Yeah, I haven't seen this movie in years. I love this movie. I watched it as a kid. It freaked me out. Kind of similar to The Hammer. The English kind of have their little more horrific take. Like when you have the severed hand, like kind of just move around a little bit.
Yeah.
Ever since like Dark Shadows as a kid, that would freak the heck out of me. It's like,
Right.
and I'd always be like, why do you have a severed hand in a box? I don't understand. Even like Thing, why do you have that?
Yeah.
Did you want to get rid of that? Well, it's our friend. Look, Thing.
Yeah, but right. It took the Adams family to
Yeah.
kind of take the lead out of it.
Yeah, yeah, for me as a kid, because before that it was like, oh no, 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 no.
Yeah.
Limbs crawling across the room on their own. No, thank you.
Right.
You're a kid, you're like,
Right. Yeah. Okay, I
oh.
got a question for you then.
Yeah.
If there is no Frankenstein, okay, Mary Shelley, she runs off with, Lord Byron, never to be seen again.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's no Frankenstein, is there a Bram Stoker Dracula?
That's a great question
You know?
because he's next on the list,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, one thing I should say just before we go to Bram Stoker, because I want to put in a plug for Mary Shelley. um,
Shout out.
uh, and there's modern interpretations. I know there was one with De Niro that I haven't seen
Oh
that's supposed to be real good and more accurate to the book. One thing about Frankenstein, the 1931 story deviates because the monster's an idiot, right? The whole,
yeah. Right.
and they do that, of course. What's another great Frankenstein story? Mel Brooks, right? Young Frankenstein, a
Yeah.
classic Frankenstein,
Right.
you know.
I love it.
Um,
The put Ritz. I love that part.
but in her story, the monster has a whole narrative. He's not, he's intellectual.
Right.
And they do that more in the true story and updates where they kind of go, no, this, hey, I was brought back to life. I have feelings and ideas. But I was gonna say, she's so fascinating because she was, yeah, married to, was it Lord Byron, right?
Mhm.
No, Shelley. No, not Lord Byron. Lord
Shelley.
Byron was her friend. It was
Right.
the poet.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Percy.
Yeah, but I think she knew Lord. They all hung out.
Lord
Um,
Byron. I have them married, dude.
yeah,
Never mind that her last name is Shelley.
right.
Anyway.
But she writes this thing that is just like takes the world by storm. I mean, it's like, wait, where did this come up? This has never been done before. And mostly she writes a lot of travel logs and stuff just in her day-to-day, like Ian Fleming did outside of writing James Bond. He wrote like travel logs. Well, when you're in Jamaica. um but later it was interesting. She wrote another sci-fi story called The Last Man, which there was a silent film made of. And it was the first dystopian apocalyptic sci-fi story.
Wow.
And she's writing this in, the 1800s. Get
Mm.
this. It's a story about a man living at the end of the 21st century, starting in 2073 and concluding in 2100, as a plague has destroyed civilization. Mary Shelley wrote that.
Mm.
The Last Man. I had
Mm.
no idea. I'd never heard of it. There's a silent film based on it, but I'm like, wow, what,
Yeah.
like no one's writing stuff like this.
No, not at all. Not back then.
So shout out to Mary Shelley.
Right.
So Bram Stoker,
Uh-huh.
1897, Dracula, yet another thing that creates its own industry, takes it by storm. So I have Nosferatu on there,
Oh yeah.
1922.
Max
Max
what's his
Schreck.
name? Max Shrek, yes.
Schreck, yeah.
I love Nosferatu, man.
And that was directed by Friedrich Murnau, who later in 1926 makes silent film called Faust.
Ooh.
Faust is yet another paranormal type of genre, most famously written by the German poet Goethe. This is where you get the pact with the devil.
Yeah.
meeting with the devil, meeting with the paranormal type things.
Right.
So, and as far as Nosferatu go, you can do Dracula. As far as Nosferatu goes, you got the original 1922. The remake is really, really good. Nosferatu the Vampire, the German film remake, 1979, by Werner Herzog, starring Klaus Kinski.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And Klaus looks fantastic.
Yeah.
As the vampire. I mean, he's in the makeup, everything, his breath.
Yeah.
He's creepy as hell. I mean, Klaus Kinski is always creepy as hell in most of his movies. So, he plays that really well.
There was a movie about the making of Nosferatu.
Shadow of the Vampire.
Yes.
2000.
Yes.
And I have it on my list because I was like, what was that movie? I loved that movie. Mm-hmm. It stars John Malkovich as Murnau, and William Dafoe plays Max Schreck / Count Orlok.
Yeah.
And it has Carrie, I can never pronounce his last name, Carrie Ills, who is also... Elwes. That's it. Carrie Elwes, who was in Bram Stoker's Dracula as well. Eddie Izzard, Udo Kier, and Catherine McCormick is in it as well. I have not seen that in years since I saw it in the theater, and I loved that movie.
Right.
It's a dark comedy about the making of Nosferatu based on true facts.
Yeah, Max Schreck was one odd dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that movie reminds me of and it kind of didn't come out around the same time, the one that they made about the famous B movie actor or B movie creator, Plan 9 from Outer Space and all that.
Oh yeah.
And Johnny Depp, Ed Wood, yeah. Mm-hmm. Shadow of the Vampire is a very kind of Ed Wood type film. Right. So if you like Ed Wood, Shadow of the Vampire is really good. I couldn't find it on streaming because I was like, God, I'd love to watch that one again.
Yeah. Dude, I couldn't find French Connection anywhere. Nowhere. Not Netflix, not Prime, not Max, not wherever, man.
Yeah.
It's bummed me out. But since we made a reference to French Connection, I have gone way off on left field to throw that out.
Yeah. So what about Dracula, your favorite interpretations of Dracula?
Oh, my favorite is by far Bela Lugosi.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Although the one with Gary Oldman, I didn't mind
Francis Coppola.
Yeah. Oh, and I just had a hard time with Keanu Reeves, But
and you are really harshing on my leading men. First is Tom Cruise, now you're dissing Keanu?
Well, I don't mind Keanu. I mean, he's gotten way better over time.
He's on tour with his band
I love
Dogstar or something.
Yeah. I love me his John Wick movies.
Yeah. I've seen the first one and the last one.
Yeah.
In between, I haven't had time to see and honestly, it was okay. As long as you saw the first John Wick movie, you could go in and see the last movie. It was like, okay, no, I know what's going on here. It's like, I'm not sure what happens. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. But for me, it's Lugosi, man. I mean, it's just, I'm a sucker for nostalgia.
I recently, I think it was on Svengoolie last year or something, maybe. And I watched it, or maybe I watched it on Halloween. I don't know. And the scenes about the mirrors with Lugosi as he's trying to navigate around the mirrors. It's like, he's like flipping. It's like, that is a great scene.
Yep.
Like he plays that so well.
Right.
And the guys are like, if we don't see that guy's reflection in the mirror,
Right.
we know what's up.
And when he does the hand thing, he's double jointed. So
Yeah.
That is classic too. I love that part.
Yeah. So why, if you're a vampire and you're walking around and I can talk to you and I can touch you and you can bite me, why in the hell can't I see you in a mirror? Huh?
I don't know where that comes from in the lore of it. That's a good question to ask Dr. Rebecca Housel, the pop culture professor.
I mean, okay, if I can see you, I'm assuming the photons are bouncing, what would be the difference with reflecting the mirror? I'm sorry, just a science question. Just have that question.
I don't know.
But it's a well-known fact, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Was it Abbott? There's an Abbott and Costello where they meet Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember what it's called. Like it might be
it's
Abbott.
The one with Frankenstein. It's because it's got all three.
Oh, okay.
It's got Lon Chaney Jr.
Yeah.
And Bella.
Yeah, and apparently that Bella had not played Dracula, like he's not in sequels and all that.
Yeah.
And he came back to play Dracula in the Abbott and Costello.
Yeah.
Like I think he was just like, I'm not going to do that, or pay me lots of money or something like that.
Right. Well, it was later in his career, and he didn't have a good he had a bad downfall.
Well, go see Ed Wood.
Right.
Johnny Depp and Martin Landau plays Bela Lugosi, and he's doing Ed Wood films. He kind of had a trajectory like Peter Lorre, I think. But yeah, there's some interesting things, and I can't remember Martin Landau if he won the Oscar for that. I mean, he was nominated for that role.
He did. He won it.
Yeah.
Remember when he has the statue and he's jumping up and down? Afterwards, he was like very animated. I think he got mad too. I think they cut him off. The TV went to break, and he got a little angry over that. But yeah, let's see. So we had Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going in the opposite direction from the vampires. Night of the Living Dead.
Yep.
I just had to do it. Was it Roger Corman?
Roger Corman.
Yeah. I mean, that's a classic. Night of the Living Dead. I mean, how many zombie films have been spawned by that?
Yeah. I mean, that it just started again, a whole industry.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think Frankenstein, you think Dracula, you think zombies. It's a whole industry. It's like,
right.
You're talking about, well, how many movies could I watch? Well, here's a stack of them. You're going to be busy for weeks and months and months and
right. Better free your calendar.
Joe Bob Briggs on his show just showed was it the last one? Because he did do a series. He did Night of the Living Dead,
mm-hmm. Day of the Dead,
mm-hmm. And it was the one that was in the 1980s.
I believe so. Yes, early 80s.
Yeah, with this aggro military guy that just really annoyed me. The woman in it, the star, who's the gal, she's kind of like an Ellen Ripley type, like trying to take charge and fight the zombies. But there's this guy who's just like over the top, and it was like, okay, they liked it. I was kind of like, yeah, okay. I'm okay. I'm gonna. Is this a confession time?
Sure.
There's no one listening. There's no one listening to this, right?
No.
It's just you and me. Yep. We're just talking privately.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Like no one's gonna hear this.
Nope.
You're gonna turn turn the cameras, turn the recording off. I'm just going to confess.
Okay. Off
I'm
the
not.
record.
Yeah, totally off the record. No one's listening. Jason,
Mhm.
I'm not so keen on zombies and zombie movies.
Yeah. I uh I I became just it was overkill, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
so many World War Z, all the stuff, and it turned me off. I mean, I started watching what's that series that's out?
The Walking
What?
Dead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I started watching that, and
Yeah.
I just got turned off.
Me too.
You know?
I when it was first season, all my friends were watching. I turned it on and I was like, okay, I'm good. And it's like,
Yeah,
I just don't. It just I find that a lot of the movies are the same.
yeah.
Now, me saying that, I will I will tell you what zombie movies I do like.
Okay.
Okay, why? Like vampires, cool.
Mhm.
Because they're like and okay, the vampires got a little oversaturated too with
Right.
the what's her name,
Twilight.
yeah, and then before that the writer,
Oh, Charlene Harris. Was that True Blood?
no, before that, again, Tom Cruise and all of them, the
Oh, Anne Rice.
yeah, Anne Rice, the Anne Rice stuff, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which was fine. But vampires, they're smart and they're intelligent and they're sooth. If you do a vampire right, they're soothsayers
Sure.
and seducers.
Sure.
Zombies just sort of show up and and you're just like, okay,
Yeah. Well,
and now what?
there is one zombie movie that I did like because it had a different angle to it, and that is The Serpent and the Rainbow,
Oh, I
because it
think
had the
I've heard of
voodoo
that.
element.
Okay, and that's actually where a lot of zombie stuff comes from.
Yeah.
See, I like that too. If you had more of the voodoo thing, because the voodoo stuff creeps me out.
Right.
And so,
Mm.
but Anne Rice, she's like New Orleans, right? So that's voodoo country
Oh, yeah.
down there. Yeah. So Night of the Living Dead is a classic. That is a great movie.
Yeah.
Like you can't touch that. Um, I like Shaun of the Dead
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
because
Right.
it's a twist
Yep.
on the zombies.
Yep.
That's a classic.
Yep.
And a more recent, we're probably talking all these old movies and not so recent movies, but a more recent movie was, gosh, I can't remember. Is it Japanese or Korean? I think it's Japanese. Train to Busan.
Heard the
That is a
title, don't never seen it.
that is good.
Yeah.
Check it out. Yeah, let me see. I want to see what year it is. That has become a cult classic. Um, oh, South Korea. Yeah, it's
Oh,
Korean.
okay.
And Korean, not into Korean cinema, you should be. Yeah, it's Korean film, 2016, and it's really good. And the thing about zombies is zombies aren't really interesting, right?
No,
Unless like in Shaun of the Dead, you can talk to them and go, "Well, how you feeling being a zombie?" Well, not so good. Um,
not so good.
but they're like a force of nature.
Yeah.
Once someone gets zombified,
Hmm.
and in to Busan, it's like and it's also like more like a plague kind of a thing in modern times.
Yeah.
And Train to Busan has that, but it's really about the characters who are surviving and the sacrifices they make and who lives, who dies. It's very like a kind of Night of the Living Dead type feel because that's the drama in Night of the Living Dead, right? You're following these characters. Are they gonna be able to survive? What's gonna happen? I mean, because the zombies, you're not really,
They're one
what's their
dimensional.
yeah, they're one dimensional. It's like arms, legs, brains.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So it's really you're following the stories of the people. How are you going to get out of this?
Right.
And yeah, Train to Busan was really well done. The effects, 2016, the effect. I mean, get this, they're on a train. Who knew? But seeing the zombies all swarm and on these as they're trying to get the heck out of Dodge,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, we're safe now. boom, 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 boom. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
And I'm stuck on this train,
right.
And then
It's
there's
not
just all
snakes on
these,
a train, it's zombies on a
yeah.
train. Please do not go to the smoking car.
And there's heartbreaking
Yeah.
sacrifices and stuff. I mean, you have like the young couple, high school couple in love and all that, and the businessman, the Korean. That was a good movie, real good movie. I recommend the modern zombie movies, Train to Busan. Most people who probably are into the zombie genre has seen that movie.
Gotcha. Hey,
Um,
do you want me to insert a really bad joke here?
sure.
Okay. If they're doing a movie in Korea, it's got to have soul.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's true. That's true. That was a bad joke.
I know. See,
Uh,
I gave you fair warning.
all
Yeah.
right. So how about this?
Okay.
Um, Roger Corman.
Sure.
Well, we have yet to touch on one of the other great writers that have influenced so much in film, and that is one little poet named Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh yeah, yeah. The Raven.
How about The House of Usher?
Oh yeah.
1960, Roger Corman and Vincent Price.
Was it just called the House of Usher, or was it like Fall of the House of Usher? I can't
I
remember.
had House of Usher here. I think maybe the Poe is called Fall of the House of Usher. I had House of Usher. Maybe it's like the House of Usher, Fall of House of Usher,
Right.
But that's was a Roger Corman and kind of along the same line. And then they followed it up in 64 with Mask of the Red Death.
Ooh.
So this is when Vincent Price starts going like master
Oh.
horror.
Yeah.
And yeah, and they had so much success with that. I love Mask of the Red Death because again, not really zombie, but plagues and
Right.
things that hurt you are
Right.
bad.
The movie I saw a long, long time ago. I don't remember much about it. But the whole Vincent Price thing. I mean, you can't go with those movies without mentioning Vincent Price.
Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
know?
and then then we go back to that Mary Shelley, The Last Man on Earth, which
Yes.
is then tied into that whole plague, and you get into Vincent Price
Yep.
again
Yep.
with the last. I guess it was called The Last Man on Earth, which is based on I Am Legend,
Yes.
which then becomes in the 71. The first that I saw before I saw the Vincent Price was the Charlton Heston movie, The Omega Man.
Oh, I love that movie.
And
Love it.
again, I throw that more. It's not really a zombie movie, but
Mhm.
there's a movie that I loved because the people do get zombie. You get the plague, you get zombified. It's scary, but they're not. Are they automaton? I don't know. It was Anthony Zerba, I think, is the leader of them, and he's got an agenda.
Yeah.
So I like stuff like that.
Yeah. Omega Man was awesome. Charlton Heston, man.
Well, it I had never seen The Last Man on Earth, the one that was based on I Am Legend, the original Vincent Price.
Yeah.
And I watched it. It was very, very, very good.
Hmm.
And again, he's like, there's some great scenes where he goes to a fire pit and they're like burning the bodies,
Yeah.
of the people who've been affected by the plague. Yeah, it's and he's a scientist, of course. The story is he's trying to figure out what happened. And I haven't seen it, but I believe it's Will Smith. They did a remake,
Yes.
of I Am
Yeah.
Legend. Did
Not
you see
bad.
that one?
Yeah, not bad.
Okay.
Didn't mind it.
Yeah, I
There,
haven't seen it.
there's some offshoots of that too. I mean, uh the latest one is The End of Us. That's got like
Mm.
Pascal something in it. And
Oh, yeah.
It's a limited series, and I'm not a big, huge zombie guy, but it's kind of an offshoot of it because the zombies aren't your prototypical zombies. It's a smart sort of parasite
Yeah,
that
yeah.
takes over your motor functions in your brain, and I mean it's very suspenseful.
That's a good story because it has some basis in science fact.
Mm-hmm. Right.
People know about the zombified, is it the zombified ants? I think the parasite that takes over ants and actually takes control of their motor functions. There's a few other insects. It's like a fungus,
Yeah.
and a fungus that can actually take over an insect and make it do its dastardly deeds to procreate. And the insect's dead, basically. It's literally zombified. Um, there's might be a thing about birds. So and what is well, The Last of Us, that
Mm-hmm.
video game turned movie TV show is all
Right.
about that, right?
Right.
Well, Last of Us series is
Yeah.
zombies will never go away.
No. And what is it with our psyche or whatever that we always have to have this apocalyptic sort of mind bent?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know.
Well, with the zombies, it's like that loss of control, that hopelessness.
Right.
Like if you get sick or you have
Mm-hmm.
you feel, that loss of control. Something's going wrong with my body. What do I
Right.
do? I mean, that's again like the example of going back to Rosemary's Baby. That's like pregnancy horror,
Right.
pregnancy anxiety. Zombies are like medical anxiety.
Right.
What if I catch that? You know, um, all of horror, paranormal has to play on some deep psychological
Sure.
um uh
Profile.
feeling, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question: would you consider paranormal? Okay, The Stand. Stephen.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Stand. Yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't you? Yeah. Don't you think? I mean, but anytime Stephen King, I mean, eh, it's very, you know, eh, I mean, he's the man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I do have one on the list, which I think is very, very much in the paranormal
Okay.
world. I don't know if, yeah, maybe we should. Do we want to go there?
Sure. We
Sure,
want
why
to go
not?
there.
Well, you bring up Stephen King, and now this really gets into what I feel. We're kind of talking horror, paranormal, aliens. I really feel like this movie and a couple others I have on this list are really paranormal,
Okay.
like pure paranormal.
Mhm.
And again, this goes back to Christopher Walken, The
Mhm.
Dead Zone,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
1979, written by Stephen King,
Mhm.
directed by a master of paranormal directors in 1983, David Cronenberg.
Oh.
Stars Christopher Walken, Brooke Adams, Tom Skerritt, Herbert Lom is in it, Anthony Zerba, love Anthony Zerba, Colin Dewhurst, and Martin Sheen.
A young Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not as young as Apocalypse Now though.
Right. Right.
A young Christopher Walken. The Dead Zone, I think, is absolutely a purely paranormal film, and a great watch. And I know then they did a TV series of it. I don't know if they remade the movie as well. They did I heard good things about the TV series.
Yeah.
Again, Christopher Walken is great in it.
Yeah. Didn't the
And
TV series didn't that have one of the guys from the Brat Pack in it?
as a little kid, because it had the little kid in it, maybe.
I want to say it was remember the guy that had red hair, he was in Breakfast Club, 16 Candles.
Oh no, that Anthony Michael Hall, which
Yeah.
I think he's the one who did the TV series.
Yeah.
I
Right.
think he was the Christopher Walken character.
Right.
So the Dead Zone, and I'm trying to remember definitely one that I want to rewatch. I had the tape. This is a movie that I believe, doesn't he get struck by lightning? Something like that.
Yeah.
I think he gets, something happens, and he all of a sudden starts having premonitions, ESP,
Yeah.
pure paranormal.
Sure.
And of course, you can do that and nothing happens. But no, when he thinks something's going to happen, something happens. Kid almost drowns. He sees it. He saves it. And people are trying to deal with this, right? And he starts to become an outcast. Again, what he's going through psychologically. Just can't remember. I didn't look up the. I've seen it so many times, but you know how you've seen a movie so many times, and then you haven't seen it in a few years, and it's like, now what happened in that movie again? And you watch it again, and you go, oh yeah, I love this part.
I live that every day.
Oh no, he has a. Yeah, I just wanted to. After having a headache following a ride on a roller coaster in Castle Rock, Maine, school teacher Jimmy Smith politely declines if Sarah to spend the night with her. And then he gets in an accident in stormy weather, and he wakes up, and then he's gained the ability to psychically see aspects of people's lives through physical contact, right? So like if he touches someone, he all of a sudden gets this, thing. Like, you really did that after band practice back in the day? You saw that? Oh, that was I highly recommend The Dead Zone.
Those
very
potatoes.
Yeah. Very paranormal.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, I'm throwing out one that was huge, in the 80s. Poltergeist.
Yeah.
That's a low-hanging fruit one.
I was gonna put that on my list, but I forgot. But absolutely Poltergeist.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that. Yeah, I mean that's purely. So let me see here. One more. I'll give an honorable mention. Another one on the Christopher Walken. The same year, actually, this movie came out the same year in 1983. Douglas Trumbull's Brainstorm.
Oh, okay.
Now this is really, it's a sci-fi movie again, and this is one where you hook up electrodes and you record your brain scan on this fancy laser tape, and then you can play it back, put on the electrodes, and relive. Like, you could go ride a roller coaster and then go, check this out, and I could put the electrodes on and ride the roller coaster as you and experience it directly through the brain waves, right?
Yeah.
And it's this thing that these scientific researchers have created, this machine. Of course, it's under military contract, so we want that for the military. One of their ideas is to train fighter pilots, like in realistic flight simulators, that sort of thing.
Right.
And so it's a sci-fi movie. And also, if that sounds familiar, there was a very, very similar movie done years later by not Jane Campion, Cameron's Catherine Bigelow, written by James Cameron, which was Strange Days.
Okay.
With Angela Bassett, which was on streaming a while ago, and I rewatched it because I hadn't seen it for years.
Ray Fiennes too, right?
Ray Fiennes, yeah.
Yeah, saw that in the movie.
Very good movie. Yeah, so did I. And it was I think it was Catherine Bigelow and Cameron when they were together. Cameron wrote the script, but very similar to Brainstorm. Brainstorm, though, the reason, so it's sci-fi, but I really do need to put it in paranormal. Because it really, I don't want to like spoil the movie, but really what happens is you've got this thing, electrodes that you can put on your brain, and you can experience anything that person experienced, and play it back.
Yeah.
directly in your brain. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what happens? Well, one dude, puts it on, and then he goes out and hires somebody, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, look, free brainwave porno. Um,
Right.
but what Brainstorm really asks the question is, what if someone's wearing that when they die?
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
And so that really becomes the story.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I would call it more paranormal, spiritual,
Yeah.
hey, the electrodes were on this person.
Yeah.
They're dead.
To me, what lists it at paranormal, especially in the sci-fi realm, is if it's fiction or nonfiction, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have aliens and the fictional, movies, TV, yada yada yada, but then you have the alleged nonfiction. To me,
Right.
that's the line. It goes over from sci-fi into what I think is the paranormal.
Well, like I say, this movie mainly is the tech, which is science fiction tech and everything, but then it kind of pivots at the end about death and
Yeah.
spirituality and that sort of thing. And I thought that was really brilliant. I went to see the movie in the theater when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and I've always liked this movie. It stars, and then it's also famous for another very, very sad reason. Brainstorm stars Christopher Walken, who's fantastic in it. Natalie Wood plays his wife.
Oh yeah.
Louise Fletcher, who also just passed away. I think it's one of her wonderful roles. She was Nurse Ratchet
Oh
in
yeah. Oh yeah.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. She was in Deep Space Nine. Louise Fletcher always was great. Usually played a bad, evil person
Right.
typecast, but
She
she
was good
wasn't.
at it.
She wasn't in Brainstorm though. She was not evil. She was one of Christopher Walken's colleague, and Cliff Robertson.
Oh yeah.
Well, he's like, the sad thing about Brainstorm is this was the movie where Natalie Wood died while they were making the movie.
Oh.
It was her last film.
Yeah.
And it's also the reason why, just as an aside, I don't want to dwell on this, but why Christopher Walken was on the boat with Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood when
Oh.
she drowned. He was on the boat at the time because they were making this movie together.
Ah.
Yeah. And at the time, it was like, are they going to release it? Is it going to be finished or whatever? And they said, no, we've got enough scenes. We've re-edited the story a bit. And maybe if you knew that, you'd kind of see where it is. But in general, I think if you didn't know that fact, it's still kind of works.
Yeah.
Maybe you might be like, oh, where was a little bit of tiny bit of follow-up at the end with, his wife, Natalie Wood. They play great as a couple, and they're going through some issues and whatnot. And there is a scene that almost like brings me to tears where they're basically getting a separation.
Mm.
And they got this machine that records your thoughts and your memories and stuff.
Yeah.
What happens if you're going through that and you play back your other partner's memories
Oh. Ooh.
and you see yourself
Yeah.
through the emotions and the feelings of that other person?
A different interpretation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
It's just
interesting.
great things in this movie. I think, and I think it's become a cult classic. It's been hard to find over the years. I don't know if it's on streaming. Douglas Trumbull was a director, but also he did like the special effects on Close Encounters and stuff. He came from the special effects world, but
Yeah.
again, I put that on the list because it's a great Christopher Walken film. It does deal with some of those paranormal aspects about the afterlife,
Yeah.
and great movie, really great movie.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna throw out another movie, The Shining.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I didn't. Again, I was typing madly before I hooked up my thing to
Doing
Zoom,
your thesis.
and I was thinking to myself, You
Yes,
know,
sir.
you got to put The Shining on there. I mean, okay. Out of all the paranormal, like at some point we should rate the top. Okay, this is a top paranormal movie.
Yeah,
The Shining's got to be
it's up there.
like right up there at
Yeah,
the top. I mean, if you say paranormal movie, pick one, that's going to be on the short list.
sure, sure.
You know,
That's definitely
um,
for me. I see. I have a hard time picking with so many movies of paranormal,
yeah.
and I like movies. Some movies for different reasons than others. It's hard for me to pick a top one. Now, maybe top five, maybe top 10, sure, but it's hard to really pare it down to the number one. Casey Kasem's top 40.
I've got two on my list that I'm not going to drop right now
Okay.
that you may not think about
Okay.
as top paranormal movies, but I submit them. We'll do that toward the end. I submit them as paranormal classics
Gotcha.
in the top 10.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna do that yet because I still got a little more.
Still got a little more. And hey,
Do we have more time?
a little bit.
Okay.
Did coin the phrase red rum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean I don't think. Oh, I mean, what do you say about The Shining? There's not much to say about it. I mean,
Right.
paranormal movie, The Shining, yes,
Yeah.
a very good paranormal movie.
Jack Nicholson.
And Stanley Kubrick
Yep.
and Shelley Duvall.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And those
Uh,
twins.
and the twins. So yeah, so that kind of goes into psychological horror.
Mhm.
One I had here is an author who wrote one of the classic gothic fiction, kind of paranormal fiction, and that is Henry James when he
Ah,
wrote the story The Turn of the Screw.
right.
And the reason I bring that up now is because you talk about The Shining and you talk about the two little girls in that. I think The Turn of the Screw really highlighted that one of the first times we had an example of children involved in paranormal type activity. So when The Turn of the Screw, this governess comes to take care of these two kids. Weird stuff is happening. There were the previous caretakers that aren't around anymore. They're not, they're gone. They're dead. And maybe they appear apparitions. The kids can see them. Stephen King described The Turn of the Screw and The Haunting of Hill House as the only two great supernatural works of horror in a century.
Oh, wow. That's
Uh,
something. That's something coming from Stephen King.
yeah, he argued that both contain secrets best left untold and things left best unsaid.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. And so, like The Turn of the Screw, there was a Benjamin Britten opera, a Harold Pinter play. I was trying to remember the one that I saw as a kid, and it was actually in a film book that I had. There's been so many different versions of it, but the one that I remember seeing, it's in black and white, is called The Innocents, and it's considered one of the classic versions of The Turn of the Screw, called The Innocents from 1961. Screenplay written by Truman Capote.
Wow. I heard of the name, never seen it.
Yeah, directed by Jack Clayton, who did The Great Gatsby with Redford in 1974.
Yeah.
Stars Deborah Kerr and Peter Wingard, if you know your British actors.
Yeah.
And it's actually, I found it out there on the YouTubes and stuff. So
Yeah. Again, more homework. Thanks, Doc.
yeah, exactly. but there's been that story, and it involves kids, the kids kind of communing with ghosts, and then you got the governess, and she's like, what's going on here, right? And there's all these kind of evil underpinnings of things, and of course there's always a romantic aspect,
Sure.
the the master of the house and the young governess. I mean, those tropes have been played out
Time and
since Turn
time
of the Screw.
again.
Yeah, the romantic gothic horror. Dark Shadows did an adaptation of it in the 70s. I was looking up because I knew Nicole Kidman had done it. It was back in 2001. The Others
Yes.
with Nicole Kidman was an adaptation of the story. Adaptations are different. Actually, the Dark Shadows one was with Lynn Redgrave. There's a prequel. They do a prequel with the characters of the Turn of the Screw called The Nightcomers, starring Marlon Brando back in 1972.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because a lot of it is, you got children, you got the spirits, you got all that, and then you have that sexual tension, the young governess and the master of the house and all that. So that's where that stuff comes from.
Gotcha.
I just wanted to put that in there.
Hey, I'm getting the thing 5 minutes.
Uh-oh.
5, so we're gonna go in the lightning round.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna throw out 2 at once, real quick.
Okay.
Amityville Horror and The Omen.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. Just gotta throw
that
out
absolutely.
there. I'm gonna throw out another one. I'm gonna go throw out another one that's off the beaten path, but still I gotta mention it, and that is Flatliners.
Oh, yeah. That's
Anyway.
a good one.
Yeah. But in the 70s, getting back to Amityville and Pet Cemetery, the Pet Cemetery too. But Amityville Horror and The Omen, it was that rush of these horror / paranormal movies that came out just almost all at once. It is a huge decade.
Yeah, those are like the classics. Like the 70s had the 60s and then the 70s had that resurgence, more even psychological.
Right.
Okay, so along with the Turn of the Screw, there was another author named Daphne du Maurier.
Oh, yes.
And her influence over this young British director is very important. She wrote Rebecca, which was Alfred Hitchcock's first American film. Again, a Turn of the Screw kind of a young governess. There's sexual tension. There's a ghost and weird things happen.
Yeah.
And she wrote some other things at Jamaica Inn, which is very interesting. It's all psychological type horror. But later, she wrote another story called The Birds.
Yes.
And so in 1963, Alfred Hitchcock did The Birds. And I think The Birds is very much a psychological paranormal film.
I do too. Yeah.
Like zombies, it's a force of nature. What the hell's up with the birds?
Yeah.
They're out killing people. We don't know why.
Right. They're just kind of...
How do we stop them? What do they want? What is it you always say? Where are they from? What do they want?
Right.
So Hitchcock has some, but The Birds, I think, is one of his most paranormal.
Yeah, I think so too.
Psycho is more psychological, kind of paranormal. Spellbound, again, psychology. Then you get into Vertigo, which has a whole paranormal storyline, but then it's the underpinning of what's the scam and all of that.
Yeah.
Now, a very fine paranormal film that came out in the exact same time that Vertigo did, 1958, that stars the same 2 stars of Vertigo, James Stewart and Kim Novak. It's called Bell, Book, and Candle.
Never heard of it.
Oh my God. So you got Vertigo, Alfred Hitchcock, James Stewart, Kim Novak.
Bell, Book.
Then the comedy Bell, Book, and Candle, 1958, starring James Stewart, Kim Novak, Jack Lemmon, Ernie Kovacs, Hermione Gingold, and Elsa Lanchester, who, by the way, was the Bride of Frankenstein.
Ah.
This is a movie where Kim Novak is a witch and casts a spell on James Stewart. It's a comedy, but the weird thing is it came out the same year as Vertigo, and it was like the same, and both, like, Kim Novak is both this mysterious, and at one point when I was younger, I would get the two movies mixed up. It was like, was that the one where she had the cat, or was that the one where she was standing and jumping into the by the Golden Gate in San Francisco Bay,
Yeah.
But out of those, Vertigo has that storyline, but Bell Book and Candle really is the supernatural story. But both are worthy in the paranormal realm.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Old movies, man. Old movies.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, I've got the last one I'm throwing out.
Okay.
Last one. The Sixth Sense.
Ooh, I did not think of that one. Very good. Yeah. M. Night
Shyamalan.
Shyamalan.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah. Signs popped up.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And I was
Mel
like,
Gibson.
oh, dude, yeah. The M. Night, man. But The Sixth Sense is fantastic. Unbreakable too.
Oh yeah.
Unbreakable.
Yeah.
No, he's got to be on the list. The Sixth Sense is, well, both Sixth Sense and Unbreakable are brilliant.
Sure.
Brilliant movies. All right, lightning round.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna
last one.
I'm gonna throw out a handful, all from the 80s here.
Okay.
Scanners. Again.
Yes.
David Cronenberg.
Yes.
Purely a paranormal movie.
Yeah.
ESP and blowing people up. Along the same lines, Stephen King follows up in 1984 with Firestarter.
Yes.
Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
Again, lots of, don't mess with that ESP stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Cronenberg, I'm going to throw this one out. Cronenberg as well, because Cronenberg again. Videodrome. 1983.
Heard of it, never seen it.
Oh, it's a good one. It's Debbie Harry, Blondie.
Oh, okay.
Okay. One of my most just all-time favorite films, Jacob's Ladder.
Yes.
1990.
Tim Robbins.
The late Elizabeth Pena died too soon, and Danny Aiello. I think Jacob's Ladder is a brilliant story, brilliant script. That's a movie that when I watch, I'm emotionally changed. Oh, young Macaulay Culkin is actually in it.
Yeah.
Directed by Adrian Lin. That movie, if you want paranormal, and if you get into it, it can be a heart wrencher. Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah. The end. Holy.
Yeah, the end.
That's all I'm gonna say. The end.
Yeah.
Oof. Well, one last Stephen King one before we close up shop with Stephen King. It.
Oh yeah.
Pennywise.
Oh, and I wrote this one down. I can't remember what the year this is. Absolutely, if you've never seen this movie, go see this movie. Again, it's like in the 80s movie genre. Goes good with that list of video drama. The Rapture.
Oh yes.
With David Duchovny and Amy, not Amy Archer. No, what's her name? Tom Cruise's ex-wife. It was I can't remember.
Yeah.
Early David Duchovny film.
Yes.
It's The Rapture. It's about, guess what it's about? The Rapture, the biblical book of Revelation rapture. And it's right there on the screen. And you're like, the movie I watched, alert. I was drinking wine late one night on a Saturday night, Friday. I'm just like, and I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I was like, and if you're like me or like Jason Allen and you've had your Bible studies when you were a kid, you're going to be like, what the what?
Right.
It's The Rapture.
I never saw that coming.
Yeah. No, it. Oh yeah. Well. Oh yeah. Well, let's see. That did happen in the Book of Revelation, didn't it? Well, there it is on the screen. It's really good though.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, it's totally a contemporary movie at that time.
Yeah.
But they just pretty much go, you know what this movie is about? The rapture. It's a great movie. It's one of my cult favorites.
Sure.
And who doesn't like Duchovny? I mean, you could throw in the X-Files movie and the X-Files and all that, of course.
Sure.
So I do propose one thing before we go is the all-time top, because I got two that are going to blow your mind, I think.
Yep.
So you had The Shining, right?
Sure.
Is there anything else like must-see paranormal?
Oh, geez, I don't know. If it's Stephen King, Christine.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, Christine. That's a see, you can pretty much take the Stephen King catalog.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, let's just
maybe not Misery, but you know.
No, but I think
cock-a-doodle-doo.
I'm your what is it? I'm your biggest fan. Kathy Bates. Holy cow.
I got to see that movie again.
Yeah.
That was such a great movie.
Love it.
The late James Caan. And also Stand By Me. That was Stephen King as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The coming to age.
Right. The book. The book with The Body.
Yeah. They were more like autobiographical, like what it's like to be an author and all that. But most of the body work of Stephen King is going to be all in the list.
Yeah.
Okay. So the essential paranormal films, I think The Shining goes there.
Mm-hmm.
You ready for me to blow your mind?
Okay.
A Christmas favorite, A Christmas Carol.
Very true. Very true.
One of the greatest paranormal and holiday stories of all time.
Yep.
My favorite is probably the Albert Finney musical version from 1970. I love the Albert Finney. But the Muppets did it. Patrick Stewart did it. George C. Scott. You have a classic. Everyone loves this movie, the comedy Scrooged with Bill Murray. I mean, this movie has been made a million times. Great versions. But Christmas Carol is a paranormal movie.
It is. It is. My favorite version of A Christmas Carol is the George C. Scott one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like the Finney one because I like the musical numbers in that.
Right.
And I like Albert Finney too.
Oh yeah. Who doesn't like Albert Finney?
So would you put that on a top paranormal list?
Oh, A Christmas Carol?
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, yeah, because I mean,
it's an essential story,
right? I mean, whether
and a well-known story.
Yeah, whether you consider it paranormal or not, or just like a holiday film, it's right there, a part of the stitches and cloth of Americana.
It even though it was written by a British guy,
right? But I mean, it's become so synonymous in the U.S. at Christmas time, next to A Christmas Story with Ralphie, that I mean, it's quintessential. I mean, you can't go Christmas season without it.
But these spirits come to this guy and take him through different time periods in his life. There's nothing more paranormal than that,
right?
Whether it's Muppets doing it, or you're singing a musical, or Captain Picard is doing it, right? That is paranormal. That is like so paranormal. Like, you tell me you wake up one day in this story, Doc, I can't believe what happened. It took me through my life and I've changed everything.
Right.
I'm not a miser anymore. It's
there was one part in the Patrick Stewart one that I didn't like doing that, because he's going on one of his monologues, and then he turns to the camera and goes, "Make it so."
Oh,
that kind
warp factor 6.
Right. Right.
And here's the greatest paranormal movie of all time.
Okay.
Ghostbusters. Who are you gonna call?
Right. I didn't. That just kind of, if it's to me, if it's comedy, it's gonna go. I'm not gonna notice it, simply because when I think of the paranormal, it's always either creepy or serious, right? But you're right, Ghostbusters.
But Ghostbusters is a comedy that takes the paranormal seriously.
Yes.
They because Dan Aykroyd wrote it, and well, doing this
He's
show, that
huge.
Dan Aykroyd is huge into the paranormal world.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters does not make fun
No.
of whereas if you did a comedy about paranormal stuff, it's like, isn't this funny? You're making fun of paranormal. Ghostbusters takes the subject matter extremely seriously.
Sure.
Those events happen in Ghostbusters.
Right.
The guys are funny. The Ghostbusters themselves are funny characters, but they take it seriously. And it is a serious paranormal film, even though it's a comedy.
Sure.
And it spans at the beginning, was it Venkman, or who does Bill Murray play, where he's doing all he's paranormal tests and all that stuff, it's like, it's all there.
Yep.
I mean, the whole thing is there,
It is. I just, for whatever reason, it didn't even cross my mind, but it is. I mean, it is,
you could rewrite it as not a comedy, make the characters serious, and do that story,
sure,
as a drama.
Everything except the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. You'd have to make him like the Michelin tire.
Oh no! What are you thinking? Oh no! It's not. It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Right. He was a beloved childhood thing.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
okay, but that incident, you're right. But again, it takes the subject matter seriously.
Yeah.
And think of a movie. Think of the fans. Ghostbusters is beloved. I mean, go to your Comic Cons and stuff. There's always going to be Ghostbusters there. There's like the legions of Star Wars people, right? We've run into them at the Comic Cons. There's the Ghostbusters.
Yep.
There, and with great costumes and equipment and everything.
Right.
Yeah. So I think, along with The Shining and some of these, I think Ghostbusters needs to be up there as a quintessential paranormal film.
There you go.
Even though it's a comedy.
There you go. Hey, folks, if you have movies you think that should go on the list, you can always email us at www.midnightalchemyshow.com. Once again, that's www.midnightalchemyshow.com. Or, hey, come and see us on the Facebook page. Give us a like and tell us what you think, what movies you want in. Yeah. How's that for a plug?
I think it's good. I think when you have Doc Housel on, she's going to just tear us apart.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm sure.
And she should. She knows this way better than we do.
Well, how many people can be the pop culture professor trademark?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Doc, thank you so much, man. I knew this was going to be an awesome episode. Simply because, I mean, it's like a coffee with curmudgeons on steroids.
Remember to send your comments and complaints to Jason Allen at Midnight Alchemy.
That's right. That's right. With a new redesigned logo, too.
Is that what's behind you there?
Yep. That's
nice.
part of it, yeah.
I was going to say, it's looking real good. You're giving me a real Aleister Crowley vibes.
Oh, jeez. That's right. Look into my eyes.
Mr. Crowley.
I'm going for more of a Jack Parsons vibe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that's good.
Anyway.
That's good, too.
Yeah, thank you so much, dude.
All right.
And
it's been fun.
Okay, I'm gonna write us off into the sunset. For Doc Normal, I'm Jason Allen, and we will see you all again on the next episode, Arrivederci.